Ladies and gentlemen, a woman stands alone, not by choice, but often by the circumstances of life. Society may not always see her as a warrior, but she is one who fights the battles that others are too afraid to face, often with little recognition or assistance. The woman who fights alone does not do so for fame, accolades, or recognition. She is not concerned with the spotlight or the admiration of others. Her battles, quiet as they may be, are fought not for personal glory but out of necessity, out of an unwavering commitment to the cause that drives her. It is this unyielding resolve that becomes her legacy, not the victory she claims along the way, but the example she sets for those who watch her from the shadows or perhaps, unknowingly, from afar. Her legacy is not one of grand gestures or celebrated triumphs, but of endurance in the face of relentless trials. She does not win every battle, nor does she always achieve her goals. There are days when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when failure seems inevitable, and the temptation to give in looms large. Yet, in these moments, she chooses to keep going. She gets up again, moves forward with quiet determination, and continues on the path that she knows must be walked, even when the journey seems endless. The woman who fights alone teaches the world something profound: what it means to persist when all around you, the odds are stacked against you. Her legacy is etched not in the words spoken by others, but in the unspoken lessons she imparts through her actions. She shows that victory is not always defined by the outcome, but by the courage to continue the fight, despite uncertainty, despite fear, and despite the isolation that often accompanies it. This silent determination is perhaps her most powerful legacy, for it is in the silence of her perseverance that others find their own courage to stand up and fight. For those who have witnessed her struggle, her legacy may be the spark that ignites their own journey. They may never know the full extent of the hardships she faced, or the personal sacrifices she made. They may not see the countless nights she spent awake, wrestling with her thoughts, her fears, and her doubts. But through the quiet strength she carries, others may find the strength to face their own challenges. It is in her resilience that they come to understand that they too can endure, that they too have within them the same fire that she carries. Her legacy is not about being without help, it is about showing others that help is sometimes found within. The woman who fights alone may not have the assistance of others, but her resolve to keep going, to rely on her own inner resources, teaches those around her the power of self-reliance. She becomes an example of what it means to trust in one's own strength, even when the world seems to offer nothing but obstacles. Perhaps the most profound aspect of her legacy is the ripple effect she creates. One woman, standing alone, may feel small in the grand scheme of things, but her actions inspire others to rise above their own fears, to confront their own challenges. She becomes the quiet hero whose influence spreads in ways she may never fully comprehend. Her legacy is found not only in the lives she directly touches, but also in the lives of those who find their courage through the example she sets. The woman who fights alone might never know how far her impact extends, how many lives she has changed simply by continuing to walk her path, by showing up every day, despite the weight of the world. As time passes, her legacy may be misunderstood, or it may be forgotten entirely. Yet, in the hearts of those who have seen her endure, it lives on. Her fight becomes a part of their own fight. The woman who fights alone becomes a part of something far greater than herself, a legacy that is woven through the hearts and minds of those who are inspired by her strength. And in this quiet, unassuming way, she leaves an indelible mark on the world, one that does not fade with time but continues to inspire others to stand tall, even when they must stand alone. The woman who fights alone may often seem like a solitary figure, distant from others and consumed by her personal struggles. Yet, in her solitude, something remarkable happens. She develops a deep well of empathy. The challenges she faces and the battles she fights, though hers alone, open her heart in ways that others may not immediately understand. Empathy becomes not just a trait she possesses, but a powerful tool that shapes her perspective and the way she interacts with the world around her. In the midst of her own trials, the woman who fights alone becomes keenly aware of the suffering and struggles of others. Her own experiences of hardship, isolation, and perseverance deepen her understanding of what it means to feel vulnerable, lost, or overwhelmed. She can no longer look at the world with detachment, for she has seen the darker, more painful sides of life. This awareness makes her more attuned to the pain and needs of others, even those who may not show it outwardly. She understands the unspoken struggles, the silent burdens carried by others, and she responds not with judgment or impatience, but with an open heart, ready to listen, to understand, and to offer support. Empathy in the woman who fights alone is not a passive feeling, it is an active, driving force. It compels her to reach out, to offer a hand even when her own strength is in question. She recognizes that, just as she has found the courage to keep fighting through her own struggles, others too are capable of great strength, even if they do not always see it in themselves. She becomes a quiet source of encouragement, a steady presence for those who feel lost or forgotten. The compassion she extends is born from the deep understanding that everyone is facing some kind of battle, even if it is not visible to the outside world. This awareness creates a bond between her and others, one that transcends the superficial differences of everyday life. Her empathy allows her to see beyond the external circumstances of those around her. She is not quick to judge, for she knows that every person has their own story, their own reasons for the choices they make and the paths they take. She has learned not to take things personally, for she has faced enough of her own struggles to understand that most people act out of their own pain or fear. In a world that often encourages judgment and division, the woman who fights alone remains a compassionate observer, always striving to understand before passing any judgment. She offers grace to others because she knows how desperately grace is needed in the world. But perhaps one of the most profound ways in which her empathy manifests is in her ability to help others see their own strength. She knows what it is like to feel as though you are standing alone, facing insurmountable odds. And yet, she also knows that within every person lies an untapped reservoir of resilience, courage, and perseverance. When others feel weak or defeated, the woman who fights alone can recognize the flicker of strength within them. She encourages them to keep going, to keep fighting, because she understands that the battle is not just physical, it is deeply emotional, mental, and spiritual. She knows that sometimes what people need most is someone who believes in them, even when they can no longer believe in themselves. Her empathy is not limited to offering kind words or advice, though she may do so when the moment calls for it. More often it is shown through her actions, through the quiet acts of kindness that go unnoticed by the world, but that mean everything to the person on the receiving end. She knows that sometimes the greatest gift she can give is simply being present, offering a listening ear or a silent shoulder to lean on. She has learned that the best way to help someone through their struggles is not to solve their problems for them, but to stand with them, to bear witness to their pain, and to let them know that they are not truly alone. Her empathy becomes a quiet revolution, one that fosters connection, understanding, and compassion in a world that often feels divided and disconnected. Through her example, others learn that fighting for themselves is important, but fighting for others is equally powerful. And in the end, it is this deep sense of empathy that becomes the cornerstone of her legacy, leaving behind a world that is just a little more kind, a little more understanding, and a little more connected. The woman who fights alone, despite the struggles she faces, experiences a profound growth in character. This growth is not always immediate, nor is it always visible to others. In fact, much of it occurs in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when she is alone with her thoughts, her doubts, and her determination to keep moving forward. Character, after all, is not shaped by the victories or accolades one receives. It is molded by the trials, the hardships, and the inner battles that one must confront and endure. And for the woman who fights alone, every challenge becomes an opportunity for personal growth. When she chooses to stand alone, she steps into a space where the world may not always offer the support or encouragement she needs. There are no external validations to reassure her that she is on the right path, no comforting words to ease her fear or self-doubt. Instead, she must rely on herself to stay strong, to keep moving forward, even when every part of her wants to give up. This constant pushing against resistance builds a foundation of inner strength that over time becomes unshakable. She learns to trust in her own ability to overcome obstacles, to handle failure, and to adapt to the unexpected turns that life throws at her. Through this process, she also learns resilience in ways that others might never understand. Every setback, every moment of disappointment, and every unexpected twist in her journey becomes an opportunity to strengthen her character. She finds new ways to cope with pain, new methods to deal with her own internal battles. Each time she faces adversity, she learns something valuable about herself, her limits, her desires, and her capacity for growth. She learns that failure is not a permanent condition but a stepping stone, and that real success comes from continuing to move forward despite the setbacks. But it is not just her ability to endure that shapes her character, it is the wisdom she gains along the way. When she fights alone, she becomes more reflective. She learns to examine her own motivations, her values, and the reasons why she is fighting in the first place. She may not always have clear answers, but the search for meaning and purpose deepens her understanding of herself and the world around her. She discovers that the journey itself holds as much significance as the destination, and she comes to appreciate the lessons embedded in every difficulty she faces. In this way, her character is not only strengthened, it is refined. She becomes more patient, more understanding of her own flaws and limitations. The harshness of life has a way of softening those who allow it to, and the woman who fights alone learns humility, understanding that she is not invincible or immune to pain. She is, however, capable of great courage, and this realization becomes a cornerstone of her character. Through hardship, she develops empathy, not only for others who struggle but for herself as well. She learns to forgive herself for the times when she falls short, and to recognize that perfection is not the goal. Growth is. Another crucial element of her character development is her ability to adapt. The woman who fights alone often faces circumstances that are constantly shifting. The world around her is unpredictable, and she must learn to adjust her approach, rethink her strategies, and reevaluate her goals. Flexibility becomes a key aspect of her character as she recognizes that rigid plans often give way to new opportunities or new lessons. She grows in the ability to respond to life's challenges with a sense of calm and adaptability, knowing that no plan is foolproof and that the path forward is rarely straight. In the midst of all these challenges, the woman who fights alone also comes to understand the importance of self-sufficiency, not just physically or emotionally, but mentally. She learns to rely on her intellect, to problem solve, and to trust in her own ability to find solutions. She develops an inner confidence that comes from experience and from the sheer act of survival. With each passing day, she gains more clarity on who she is and what she values. Her character becomes more defined, not by external achievements or the approval of others, but by her own standards and her own inner compass. Ultimately, the growth of her character is not just about surviving, it is about becoming someone who has been tested and transformed by the trials she has faced. The woman who fights alone through her perseverance, resilience, adaptability, and wisdom, becomes a stronger, more whole version of herself. The character she builds is one that is unshaken by external circumstances, because it is rooted in something far deeper than the fleeting ups and downs of life. Her growth is measured not by the battles won or lost, but by the person she has become through the act of fighting, standing firm and never giving up. Through this process, she creates a legacy of strength, wisdom, and unwavering resolve that will inspire others to embark on their own journeys, knowing that growth comes not from avoiding hardship, but from meeting it head-on and growing stronger because of it. The woman who fights alone often finds that her strength, while essential, is not always enough to carry her through the darkest moments. In these times, it is faith that becomes her anchor, her guiding light, and her source of power. Faith in this context is not just a belief in something abstract or distant, but a deeply personal conviction that there is a purpose behind her struggle, a meaning that extends beyond the immediate challenges she faces. It is this faith that sustains her, that propels her forward when everything else seems uncertain, and that helps her navigate the vast unknown with unwavering resolve. At the heart of her battle, faith is the force that gives her the courage to keep fighting. When the path ahead is obscured, when every step feels like a leap into the unknown, it is faith that provides the clarity to move forward. This is not the kind of faith that guarantees an easy victory or a smooth journey, rather. It is the kind of faith that allows her to keep walking, even when she cannot see the destination. It is the understanding that the fight has meaning, even when its outcomes are unclear, and that her efforts are not in vain, even when they go unnoticed. Faith does not always answer her questions, but it reassures her that there is value in the journey itself. For the woman who fights alone, faith becomes a form of quiet strength. It is not a force that demands to be seen or heard, but one that hums beneath the surface, providing the resilience she needs to face each new day. This faith is a constant companion, sometimes as small as a whisper, sometimes as powerful as a roar, but always present when she needs it most. It is the belief that there is a greater purpose in her life, something larger than her immediate struggles, and that this purpose will see her through the hardest of times. The woman who fights alone might not always have the support of others, but through her faith, she knows she is not truly alone. Faith also empowers her to see beyond the pain of the present moment. When the weight of the world is heavy on her shoulders and the future seems uncertain, it is faith that allows her to rise above her circumstances and believe in the possibility of something better. It is the belief that the suffering she endures will not last forever, that the pain is not the end of her story, but a chapter that will eventually give way to healing, growth, and transformation. This kind of faith is what helps her endure when everything else around her seems to crumble, for it is rooted in the understanding that hardship is not permanent. The woman who fights alone knows that if she can hold on to her faith, she can outlast any storm. Beyond the self, faith also connects her to a larger sense of meaning and purpose. Whether her faith is religious, spiritual, or simply grounded in her belief in a cause greater than herself, it gives her the strength to carry on, even when the world seems indifferent. It connects her to something timeless, something that transcends her individual experience. In this way, faith is not just a personal strength, it is a bridge to a higher calling, a reminder that her struggle is part of something much larger than herself. This larger perspective offers solace, for it allows her to see her fight not as an isolated battle, but as part of a greater tapestry, a thread that contributes to the fabric of something beyond her understanding. As the woman who fights alone continues her journey, faith transforms into a quiet, unshakable foundation. It is the rock upon which she builds her life, the steady presence that does not waver in the face of adversity. She learns that faith is not always about the absence of fear or doubt, rather, it is about continuing to move forward in spite of them. Faith is the decision to trust, even when trusting feels difficult, to hope, even when hope feels distant. It is the refusal to give in to despair, and the quiet belief that, no matter the outcome, she is doing what she was meant to do. The power of faith lies in its ability to provide the woman who fights alone with the strength to persevere, the courage to face her fears, and the wisdom to see that her journey has meaning. It is through this faith that she can continue to fight, to rise each day, to face each challenge, knowing that the power she needs is not just within herself, but also in the belief that something greater is guiding her along the way. Through her faith, she finds the strength to keep going, no matter the odds, and it is this unwavering faith that becomes her greatest source of power. The silent warrior is not the one who boasts of her accomplishments or calls attention to her battles. She is the one who, with quiet determination, faces life's trials with strength, resilience, and a deep sense of purpose. Her power lies not in the noise around her, but in the stillness within. She does not need external validation or applause to continue her fight, for she knows that the essence of true strength comes from the silence of persistence and the quiet acts of courage that accumulate over time. In the face of adversity, the silent warrior does not scream for help, nor does she retreat from the fight. Instead, she stands firm, moving forward one step at a time, often unnoticed by the world around her. Her path is one of solitude, marked by moments of doubt and struggle, but also by a quiet inner conviction that drives her to keep going. While others may falter or be overwhelmed by the noise and chaos of life, she remains calm, focused, and unwavering in her commitment to her journey. She understands that the true measure of strength is not in how loud one can shout or how boldly one can declare victory, but in the courage to continue, even when no one is watching. The silent warrior is not motivated by recognition, fame, or accolades. She does not seek the approval of others, nor does she crave validation for the battles she fights. Her sense of purpose comes from something deeper, a calling, a belief, or a personal commitment that cannot be swayed by external opinions. She knows that the journey she is on is hers alone, and that it is the internal growth, the quiet moments of victory over herself, that matter most. In a world that often celebrates external success and loud proclamations of achievement, the silent warrior reminds us that the most important battles are often fought in silence, with no one else watching. Her strength is built on a foundation of patience. The silent warrior understands that the path to success, or even to personal peace, is rarely swift or smooth. It requires persistence, the ability to endure hardship and setback without giving up or losing hope. She does not rush through life, but moves at a steady pace, focused on the task at hand. She knows that the smallest steps, the quietest actions, can lead to the greatest outcomes. And while others may seek instant gratification or quick solutions, she finds fulfillment in the process, the steady, unwavering movement forward, no matter how slow it may seem. In the silence of her struggle, the warrior also finds clarity. It is when she is alone with her thoughts, when the noise of the world is silenced, that she gains insight into her true self. She learns to confront her fears, doubts, and weaknesses without distraction. It is in the stillness that she discovers the depth of her own strength and resilience, realizing that she is capable of more than she ever imagined. Through this inner reflection, she learns to trust herself, to believe in her ability to face whatever comes her way. The silent warrior knows that she must first conquer herself before she can conquer the world, and it is in her quiet moments of introspection that she builds the foundation for her external battles. The silent warrior also demonstrates the power of actions over words. While others may talk about their dreams, their goals, or their plans, the silent warrior quietly works toward them, day by day, without the need to announce her progress. She lets her actions speak for themselves. There is no need for grand speeches or dramatic gestures, for her work and dedication speak volumes. Her strength is seen in the results of her labor, in the quiet persistence that slowly but surely brings her closer to her goals. She knows that true power is not found in the words we say, but in the deeds we do. Perhaps most importantly, the silent warrior embodies the concept of grace under pressure. She faces the challenges of life not with anger or frustration, but with a quiet dignity that inspires those around her. In moments of crisis, she remains calm and composed, trusting in her ability to handle whatever comes her way. It is this quiet strength, this ability to remain unshaken in the face of adversity, that sets her apart. She teaches others that strength is not always about being loud or aggressive sometimes. It is found in the quiet resolve to continue, to endure, and to rise again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. The silent warrior does not need to announce her presence. She does not require applause, recognition, or praise. Her power lies in her ability to face the world with unwavering courage, to keep moving forward without the need for validation, and to find strength in the quiet moments that others often overlook. It is through her example that we learn the true meaning of resilience, the ability to fight on, not with loud declarations, but with quiet, unyielding strength. The silent warrior's legacy is not written in the noise of the world, but in the lasting impact she leaves through her actions, her persistence, and her calm, steady presence in the face of adversity. The cost of independence is often far greater than many anticipate. While the idea of living freely, without the constraints of others' expectations, is appealing, it comes with a price that must be paid in ways both seen and unseen. The woman who chooses independence often finds herself standing alone, not just in moments of triumph, but also in moments of vulnerability and struggle. Independence, while empowering, can also be isolating, as it requires a level of self-reliance that can sometimes leave her disconnected from the support systems that others rely on. Yet for her, the cost is one she is willing to pay, for she knows that the value of independence far outweighs the sacrifices it demands. Thanks for watching.